So here are the watercolor ferns that we're going to make today. Now there are two types. There's the fern with the rounded edge and the fern with the pointed tip. It's the same technique, uses the same supplies and the same paint, just a slight variation. Now for this technique, you'll want a round brush. I have an assortment of them here. I have something as large as an 8, and then a 6, a 4, and a 1. And depending on the size and the ease at which you fill the water on your brush, you can get the different results. Let me show you what I mean. So for example, these are the same ferns, just used a different brush. And it's just very easy and it creates a different effect. As you can imagine, the smaller the number brush, the smaller the fern. Now you choose a larger brush when you're making a larger scale painting and a smaller brush when you want to make smaller ferns. But if you're most comfortable using a small brush, you can still make a large fern with a small brush. So use what you're comfortable with. I do encourage you to go outside your comfort zone, however. So if you're really comfortable with a number 1 brush, try going up to a number 4, seeing how that changes your painting. So here are a bunch of examples of the fern. These have the rounded tip, but I'll show you how to make the pointed tip as well. And I'll show you just a little bonus image of creating a fern with 2 colors. It's just something you might find useful. But as you can see, they're gorgeous with just a solid color. So to get started, I'm going to use my larger brush first. This is the number 8 brush. I'm going to come in here and just take some of this green here, the brilliant color here, and I'm just putting a lot onto my palette. You can dip right from your pigment, but I think it gives me a little more selection on my palette, and I can dilute it with water to make it a little more fluid. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I fill up my brush, and this number 8 brush happens to be a very thirsty brush, picks up a lot of water. I don't want it to be clumsy with too much water, so I'll fill it up, and if I shake it, it doesn't really fall out, and that's a good strategy for me. First thing I want to do is just take the brush, press it down into my paper gently, pull it towards me just slightly, and I get this beautiful teardrop shape. And so then I'll do the same thing going down the side. I'll start on the left-hand side, and I'll go 3 petals, 3 leaves, and then I'll do it on the right-hand side. And it's the same procedure. And you can pull it towards you, and you get a different effect. Now here I ran the 2 petals into each other. It's okay. I'm going to dip my brush in my water, and I'm just going to create a small stem. I like my stem to be a little thicker at the base. And you just play with it. And then I'll just gently bring a small area connecting my leaves to my stem. And so now I have just a very simple, basic fern here. But I want to fine tune it. So I'll come in here with my brush, picking up a little more pigment, and just rounding out the edge. I want those leaves to really stand out. And as you can see, they're a very interesting shape where they're tapered and round at the top. And with the exception of this one, they all come together very nicely. Now I'll do that again beside it, and I'm going to transform it into pointed edges. So it's the same procedure. I do my leaves on both sides, pressing and pulling it towards me. I'll come here with the stem and then pull my leaves, just connecting them. I'll go in there, create the shape, and at this point it's still a bit rounded. I'm just looking to get the shape of each of these leaves. And then I'm going to come in with a smaller brush. I'm going to use the number 1 brush at this point. Pick up my pigment and just create the leaf. I'm elongating it and bringing it to a point. So because the point is so much smaller than the rest of the leaf, I like to use a smaller brush when I'm working with such a large leaf. And so I have the same technique, the same leaf, just with a pointed leaf or the rounded edge. And you can do this with any number of brush. We did it with the 8. I'll use the 4 now just to show you the contrast, but it's the same procedure. I press and pull it close to me to get that teardrop shape, and then I press it and pull it close with all the leaves. And if it doesn't work out perfectly the first time, it's not a problem. I'll just go in there, create my stem, connect my leaves, and then create the shape. If you want to modify the leaf so that it's very fat or very thin, this is your chance to do that. You could really elongate them and make them thin. And if you have an area where you've gone too close to the stem, you just leave it. Now for a bonus image, I'm going to show you how to make a leaf with 2 colors. You'll be working wet on wet. First, you're going to create your leaf with your lighter color. The reason I like to work with the lighter color is because then the darker color can play with it. So I created a puddle here that's yellow-orange, and with my number 6 brush, I'll come in here and go through the same motions we did, where I make the leaves on either side, pull them towards me and pull it up. And this is a good practice. You get a feel for your brush this way. Then I can come in here and create the stem, connect my leaves, and then shape them. You'll find that some need more shaping than others, and you can always just leave it with the brush stroke. You don't have to modify the shape. So now while my painting is wet, I'm going to introduce another color. I'm going to introduce this orange. Again, I put it on my palette so I can dab the brush to get that point. And then I'm just going to go into the point of the leaf, each of the leaves, and drop in a little pigment. So I see that it's already starting to move, which is perfect. I can tilt my paper and get it to move a little more. I'll rinse my brush, pick up some more of that yellow-orange that we used at first, and I'm putting it at the base of each of the leaves. Again, not so much that it runs over. And then I'll just kind of gently pull it towards that pigment. And I can see how that's looking. I'll come back in, pick up more of that orange, and just dab it in at the tip again. And because the leaves are all wet and there's lots of pigment, that color can move. So it will move as it dries. So we'll give it 10 minutes to dry, and then I'll show you how it's changed color. So when it dries, you get a beautiful result, a blend from the orange, in this case, to the yellow. This is a great technique for making simple watercolor ferns with one color or multiple colors. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a technique that you would try. And thanks for joining me today.